Hi guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Rose, and today we're going to be talking about cerebral palsy and a ketogenic diet. So to give a little bit of background, I am doing a keto slash carnivore kind of diet right now, specifically for weight loss and overall chronic symptoms with some of the conditions that I deal with. And going into this challenge, I did not expect my cerebral palsy to be impacted by what I was eating. So when I started noticing all of these changes in muscle tone and pain that is associated with the cerebral palsy, I wanted to know, what was it about the specific way of eating that was changing it's changing the symptoms of this neurological disorder. So what is cerebral palsy? Cerebral palsy is a condition that is characterized by the increase of muscle tone, stiff muscles, jerky movements, pain, etc. It's a result of typically a brain injury, like a stroke or some kind of event in your brain that damages the motor function centers in your brain and results in your brain sending incorrect signals to your muscles to contract. So the most common type of cerebral palsy is a spastic one, which is what I have. If I find my picture of my brain, I will put it in here because I think it's fascinating. So for me, I had a stroke before I was born. It was classified as an ischemic event, which just means that my brain had a lack of oxygen and or blood flow. In my case, it was blood flow to an area of the brain causing damage. Now, my damage was death of brain matter. So I have a golf ball size hole in my head where that motor function center and one of the speech centers is located. So what goes wrong with cerebral palsy? So you have abnormal muscle tone, you have movement and coordination problems, you can have fine motor problems. For me, because I have a specific type called hemiplegia cerebral palsy, which just means one side of me is affected. So the right side of me is impacted, and it has caused my hand to be functionally useless. It's typically in a fist all of the time, and I don't really have control of most of my fingers just because that part of my brain is gone. My leg is a bit more connected. I can use it. I can walk. But because of the damage, I walk a little bit differently. So I do have a limp, which causes an unusual gait, which is another symptom of cerebral palsy. So another thing that is characterized by cerebral palsy is a developmental delay. This occurs when other areas of the brain are impacted by your traumatic event. For me, I do have executive processing dysfunction, mostly when it comes to order of operations and things like that. I have not found that it is impossible to work around. So it doesn't really impact me on the day-to-day. Some people report spinal problems. I do have spinal problems in the form of degenerative disc disease. And I don't know if that's 90% genetic, 10% stroke, or what, but it has been reported. Some people have problems with their vision, speech, hearing, because if the damage is more than just your motor cortex area, whatever, I mean, you're going to have problems, right? A lot of us have joint problems, which is 100% understandable because we're wearing and tearing our bodies in an abnormal pattern. I know for me that though my left side does still feel the spasticity, I can literally power through it and force the left side of my body to function. But that also means that it is carrying the weight, both metaphorically and literally, of my right side because my right side cannot. So all of these things are part of a neurological condition. There's no cure. There's no miracle that's gonna just suddenly make things connect. Like when your brain is damaged, your brain is damaged. Like I said, I was not expecting the ketogenic diet to do anything because it's brain damage. So some of the things that I was noticing when I started this way of eating is that my body is getting looser. I'm not as spastic. I'm being able to use my hand a little bit. For reference, being able to open my hand like this was not a possibility when I started this diet, just because I was so just tight that it was just nothing but a fist. And I wanted to know why. I wanted to know what was it about the ketogenic diet that caused this very welcome change in my body. And it took me a long time to find the answer, because there's not a whole lot of reference between this way of eating and cerebral palsy when it isn't about seizures. Now, the ketogenic diet was developed specifically as an epilepsy protocol, and it wasn't until I stumbled upon a couple of studies revolving around anticonvulsants, ALS, Alzheimer's, all of these other degenerating disorders that I found the answer. And it came out of, I think it was a 2018 study. So relatively newish. So that tells me that in the last 10 years or so, they've really been able to expand upon their research. So in order to really delve into why, we need to go to a literal cellular level. So within every cell, there is this wonderful thing called the mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria is considered to be the powerhouse of the cell. It's the one that is directing everybody everywhere. Now, when I talk about mitochondria in this video, we're going to be actually talking about the organelles, just because your body can either create or destroy the organelles depending on what its needs are. So mitochondria generates the majority of the chemical energy needed to power the cell's biochemical reactions. So it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's the thing that converts your glucose or your ketones into a substance called ATP, which then is the energy that your body is using to burn. So some of the things that the mitochondria do are energy conversion, calcium storage, cell death. So when your cell has reached its end of life cycle, it's the thing that throws the kill switch. Temperature regulation, which I can 100% tell you I don't have. And the synthesis of hormones and neurotransmitters. So when I went down my mental health kind of rabbit hole, I learned a fair bit about hormones and neurotransmitters and why they're so important to mental health. So to see this pop up again gives me even more information on the mental health aspect of why I started doing this and why. So the number of the mitochondria organelles varies based on what type of cell it's in. So the cells that use and require a mass amount of energy, like your brain, your heart, your organs, your big muscles, they're going to require more energy, which means you need more mitochondria to make the energy. We're going to get into what ATP is and why it's important. So, as we covered briefly, ATP is the energy that your body has converted for your cells to use. So, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, which is a mouthful. I hope I said that right. It's the primary energy source for most cellular functions, things like muscle contractions, nerve impulse transmission, and cellular signaling. So, when your body has had a stroke and has cerebral palsy, at least in my case, your body is going to perpetually send a signal for your muscles to contract. That is what spasticity is. It is a higher tone from your brain. So what's happening is you need ATP to go to wherever your brain is sending that signal to then release that contraction, completing the signal. And of course, with cerebral palsy, you're going to need a massive amount of ATP because your body is constantly sending signal after signal after signal. There is no stopping because your mitochondria blueprint got jumbled from the damage. So what happens when you have ATP deficiency? This is something that I went pretty deep into just because I wanted to know what really happens when your body is missing this very vital thing that you cannot replace any other way but through biologic processes. So, ATP deficiency is typically a result of an ischemic event, which is something I had. It's a typical symptom is things like migraines, muscle delays, developmental delays, all of these other kind of energy problems are going to be a symptom of ATP deficiency. You're going to have muscle issues, so muscle weakness or spasticity. You're going to have some exercise intolerance because you literally do not have the energy on a cellular level to do the thing, because your body is using all of your stored energy to manage what is going wrong in your body. So an ATP deficiency is literally cell starvation. The body doesn't have the energy needed to function, which is why people get so fatigued so quickly, is because I don't have excess energy. I am using all of it, what I have access to literally stand there, to walk around, to run after my child. Like, there is no more to give. And this can either look mild, which I kind of view my case is, like I can go take a nap and kind of help regenerate some of that energy, all the way up to organ failure because your body absolutely does not have enough. So what does ATP really have to do with cerebral palsy? So it goes back to what I said earlier about the damaged blueprints of the mitochondria. So when you have an injury like an ischemic event, a stroke, or cerebral palsy in general, there is a theory out there, and they haven't necessarily confirmed it yet, but it does make a lot of sense that you have decimated that area in your brain, and as a result, sometimes your brain overrides the initial mitochondria map, what it uses to make mitochondria in every other cell in your body. It then kind of rewrites over that original blueprint to be a damaged blueprint because of lack of oxygen or blood flow or any kind of cellular damage that impacts those plans in your brain. So when your body then goes to make new mitochondria, you are pulling a damaged blueprint. So, and there's no way to fix that, which is the thing. So your body is pulling damaged blueprints with an ATP deficiency, which is just then perpetuating the cycle because your mitochondria is not making enough. And your body is using so much energy on other processes that there's nothing it can do to repair itself. So what can help, or at least kind of mitigate some of these issues with cerebral palsy? One of the things you can do is exercise, both in things like cardio and muscle training, just to make sure that your muscles are in the best possible shape for those spastic tendencies, especially if you go into flares often, which just means that your body is in a period of time where it is extremely tight, or you have muscle spasms or medication doesn't help you, which is unfortunately what happens to me. Medication does not help my cerebral palsy. Exercise also stimulates a sort of biogenesis that encourages cell turnover. So you're getting rid of old growth, you're encouraging new growth, and you're kind of just helping your body as much as it can to have the highest functioning cell that you can while still being a defective blueprint. Intermittent fasting. So this can promote autophagy, which is the cell recycling, clearing out that old stuff, allowing new stuff to kind of grow in, managing your stress, and getting enough sleep. So when you sleep, your body kind of is in repair mode. It also reduces your oxidative stress, can impact your inflammation. It's overall just good. And when things like your cortisol levels are elevated, you're going to have more inflammation, more oxidative stress, and then your mitochondria is not going to be functioning, and your deficiency in your ATP, it all kind of just makes this gross soup of awful. And then diet changes have been known to help, both in the seizure side and the tonal side. So what does the ketogenic diet have to do with any of this, right? The standard American diet says I should be eating like this. I don't have a seizure disorder. Why do I care? So you care because of the ketone bodies that eating keto creates. So when you eat a ketogenic diet, which is defined as 50 grams of carbs or less, and obviously figuring out what that threshold is going to vary by person to person. For me, that's about 20 grams of carbs or less. So when you eat sugar, let's just backtrack a little bit. When you eat sugar, your body takes that sugar, so your insulin spikes, and then it takes that sugar and it goes, here cell, here's some energy. And your cell goes, well, I can't use that. I need it to go through a process called glycolysis which breaks down that sugar, those carbs, into molecules that your body can then convert into a substance that can make ATP. So that's all fine and dandy, right? But that in and of itself uses a lot of energy. That's energy that you could be putting somewhere else. That could be a shower. That could be a walk. That could be whatever your favorite hobby is. You could be using that extra energy somewhere else. So the awesome thing about ketone bodies is that they don't need glycolysis. Your body can go, hey, ketone, I'm ready to use you. Take it and immediately transition it into ATP, which is a usable resource in your body. Which I thought was super fascinating, and just, it makes sense. Like, it explains why I'm having so much more energy, because my body is not having to do that extra step. So keto can also enhance your ATP yield. So this means that studies have shown, suggested, what have you, nothing is concrete, that ketones produce more ATP per unit than glucose does. So you're basically getting a cleaner source of energy all the way around with the most benefits, because your body's not having to utilize and waste energy converting your food. This process also does a wonderful job of reducing the oxidative stress, which is going to help your mental health. It's going to help your systemic health, your gut health, your overall brain health. It's going to just help everything. So it also promotes biogenesis and function. So when you use fat for fuel, your body is going to tell your brain, hey, we have enough fat. We're going to start using this as fuel. I need more mitochondria to burn that. More mitochondria, damaged or otherwise, means more ATP availability, and then that leads to less muscle spasms, less fatigue. It's not going to go away. Like, that is in no way what I'm saying. However, it will get a little better. Now, remember, I'm only 50 days into this little thing I'm doing, and I feel so much better. So the ketogenic diet really offers the cleanest way for your body to burn energy. It's going to create a system that actually strengthens and semi-protects your mitochondria from further organic damage. And it's just an overall cleaner way to run your body. I used this example in a previous video, but it's like if your body is a diesel truck. If you put gasoline in it, if you put sugar in it, it's going to blow up your tank. But if you put ketones in your body, which would be diesel fuel, your body is going to run for 1,000,000 miles. And though there are no long-term studies, there's enough evidence to really suggest that this is a great way to eat. And it is something that, just based on the results I've had during the last 50 days, I will probably continue in some capacity, just because I'm feeling so much better. So that's all I had for you today. If you liked the video, if you're still here, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.